to invite everyone to words of inspiration, lessons learned, or passionate ideas. Every opinion expressed here is strictly that of the person who gives it. So let us consciously and lovingly agree to disagree if it doesn't resonate with us. And today, the topic, oh, I knew it and I forgot it, Skye. The topic, what is it? Bravery, courage, and intuition. Awesome. And that is brought to us from by Skye. Skye grew up as a very observant child who was placed in a multitude of diverse environments with people from different cultural, linguistic, and religious backgrounds. Not having been indoctrinated into religion as a child and spending a lot of time alone in nature, she was left to make sense of her own experiences without the influences of others. She often felt misunderstood by her peers and was constantly reminded that many others did not experience reality to the extent of sensitivity that she did. Finding her first spiritualist church and a community of other psychic mediums was her saving grace. Since her first awakening at 17, she has been on a journey to understand her own mind, universal consciousness, the material universe, and dimensions others may not see in order to appreciate how they all affect our existence. Her hope is to provide individuals with tools to improve their awareness for greater understanding, healing, and decision-making for the betterment of the collective. And so with that, I bring you Skye. Come on up. Yeah. There you go.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Okay. So, what is my time limit?
No, when you're watching the clock around, maybe
Around noon. Okay. All right. I want to make sure I leave time for questions. So, I have never planned a speech before. I usually allow myself to speak intuitively, but I thought it was kind of funny that my intuition told me to plan the speech about intuition this time. But I wanted to deliver the most amount of value that I could in the 25 minutes that I have. So I did a little bit of research. So I Googled what are the most common questions about intuition. And the top 10 results that I got were, how do you identify intuition? How can you tell the difference between your intuition and fear? Where does intuition come from? Is intuition from the heart or the mind? How do you connect with your intuition? How do you strengthen intuition? How do you know if your intuition is correct? What are the parts of intuition? What is the science behind intuition? And is intuition a human sense? So, did a little bit of reading and I added in some of my own things I've learned from my own experiences. But first, I would like to define intuition. Intuition is defined as the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. A thing that one knows or considers likely from instinctive feeling rather than conscious reasoning, an inner knowing, a guiding force, a gut feeling, a higher intelligence, or a sixth sense. So then I had to figure out what the definition of reasoning is because it was used twice. Reasoning is defined as the action of thinking about something in a logical, sensible way, which is why I wanted to tie in trust and bravery a little bit, because it can take a lot of bravery and trust in yourself to follow your intuition in moments that it goes against the logical programming of your brain. So how do you identify intuition and how can you tell the difference between your intuition and fear? So intuition typically comes to you in an instant. You don't have to think about it. It can be that like gut feeling, that pit in your stomach when it comes to making decisions that you don't necessarily want to be making. Light bulb moments where you understand something all of a sudden, or you get a great idea out of nowhere. Or having the ability to know what someone is truly feeling despite what they are trying to portray. Intuition should feel settled, like something you just know in your heart. It should feel in alignment, not feed into past traumas. Fear's motivation, sorry, lost my thought. Okay. Fear's motivation is to avoid disappointment, punishment, and embarrassment. Your brain is hardwired to avoid those things. Fear feels constricting, it feels stagnant. With fear, your mental dialogue tends to be dominated. It can be dominated by harsh critical thoughts. It encourages you to hide, hold yourself back, conform, or compromise and minimize yourself. Intuition, on the other hand, feels like a pulling energy. Feels like you're being drawn towards your best interests, even if it requires you to take a risk. There's hope and maybe even underlying excitement in your body. Intuition can feel calm, like an inner knowing. It's relaxed and characterized by trust, knowing that if something doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. And it's much more growth oriented in your body. Feels like a sense of expansion and openness. Intuition can be a tether. Intuition is trying to help you break through your fears. It can feel like it's quite literally breaking you open, but in a good way. I often cry when I come to those points in my life because the tears help me release the fear so that I can feel in alignment with that settled knowing of what it is that I am feeling called to do. Which I think it's important to understand that anxiety and excitement can feel the same in your body. It's just your perception of those feelings. I think it's important to get in touch with your nervous system to be able to calm yourself enough to gain that wisdom of which one it is. Where does intuition come from, the heart or the mind? This one was really interesting to me. So there's a research entity called HeartMath that did an experiment where they hooked participants up to EEGs and ECGs to measure their brain waves and their heart's electrical activity. So they were shown 45 pictures, 30 calming, and 15 intended to invoke strong emotional responses, with a 10-second break or a black screen in between those images, and they're randomly generated. So the study fascinatingly showed that their bodies responded to the images, the strong emotional images, their body responded to it 4.5 seconds before the computer showed it to them, as if they were able to predict the future event. And even more so, the heart reacted before the brain did. So they quoted here that it first registered in the heart, then up to the brain, where your emotional and prefrontal cortex is, where your brain can logically relate to and process what the heart is feeling, and then down to the gut, where it just feels there's something stirring within. So the research appears to provide compelling evidence to suggest the physical heart is connected to a field of information not bound by the classical limits of time and space. Ancient mystics, philosophers, and great thinkers had it right. The heart's wisdom can help us discern our issues, communications, and decisions more than we know. Becoming heart coherent and practicing simple techniques can change everything by helping us access much more of our intuitive intelligence. So, to how do you connect with your intuition? If you're going to follow that study with your heart. And I think it's really important to connect with your body. Your DNA's job is to gather information, hold information, pass it down, and send messages to you. So it's important to connect in with your body, meditating, clearing your mind of thoughts. In astrology, the moon is associated with intuition. So meditating with the moon, I've had some of the most profound experiences in my life meditating to a full moon, just staring at the full moon. And if you want to take it a step further, you can look through your third eye I'm gonna, caution you with. Pausing and asking questions before making decisions, checking in with yourself and checking in with the universe. Your intuition is usually the first or the loudest answer that you might receive, and it may often push you to get over fears. After that first initial thought, your logical mind tries to take over and convince you to do what's safest because your brain is hardwired for survival. A good practice is to free write. So if you grab a pen and a piece of paper and write without a filter, it will tell you exactly how you feel about whatever you're contemplating. Could do third eye activation meditations. So you can look to your third eye, you can tap anything that brings awareness to this area. How do you strengthen your intuition? Just practice. You have to use it like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. The more you practice, the more confidence you'll gain, the more trust you will have in your intuition. Things like practicing, just increasing your awareness. We are constantly getting input through our senses, just day in and day out, and every moment. It can be a lot of information that we don't all consciously process. So the more that you practice being in tune with your senses, the more you'll be able to consciously grasp the information that you're practicing. I put in here, I think it's really important to work to heal your traumas so that you have a calm nervous system. You have more trust in yourself, more trust in your intuition. You're not letting your fears and your anxieties and your past get in the way. Making decisions out of fear is never a good idea. Don't recommend it. And decalcifying your pineal gland. Most people in the Western world have because of our diets. There's fluoride in tap water if you're drinking your tap water, and that we have heavy metal poisoning. Things like there's aluminum in your deodorant, eliminate that. By choosing natural deodorants, you can eliminate sugars, eliminate processed foods. Switch to a fluoride-free toothpaste. Do not drink your tap water. Get spring water or distilled water. Yeah. Oh no, my thing's stuck. Okay. Well, how do you know if your intuition is correct? I say that is a matter of trial and error. You have to experiment and you will learn fairly quickly if you're doing it intentionally. So experiment with becoming in tune with your body, pausing before making decisions, asking your higher consciousness for guidance, listening to how your body feels in situations. Your body will tell you whether something feels right or not. You'll become aware of patterns and your gut feelings, and you will be able to develop trust within yourself. But it is just a game of practice and trial and error. So this question, what are the parts of intuition, was very interesting to me, but I don't really think that I didn't go too much in depth with it because I didn't think that I would have time to, but I encourage anybody to read that, like look that up and do some reading on it. The short answer that I have gathered from two different sources are implicit knowledge, energetic sensitivity, and non-local intuition. And the other source said in immediacy, sensing, relationships, and reason, which could just go off and be like the whole time on their own. what is the science behind intuition? So intuition is seen as something that generates from your pineal or your pituitary gland. In ancient Egyptian symbology, it was depicted as a pine cone. And also, I read that the thicker your corpus callosum, the part that connects the two hemispheres of your brain, the thicker that is, the more able somebody is to connect in with their intuition. And intuition is seen as more of a feminine instinct, and each human has both masculine and feminine within them. But I read that women tend to have thicker corpus in their brain, so I thought that was interesting. You ever think of like a mother's instinct, and just things of like how mothers instinctively raise children, men instinctively maybe hunt better. So these are things. I don't know what's happening with my computer. Sorry, I think it's overheating. But these are things that are. It's the day. Are we in Mercury retrograde? I thought we just ended that.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, I might be on my own for the rest of it. So, yeah.
Use your intuition.
I know. Oh, there's a reason for everything, isn't there? Okay. Yeah, so there are things that are in our DNA that are, we're wired for survival, and we're wired for wisdom, and it's just a matter of tapping into that wisdom. I think that intuition is kind of like your body's early warning signs. Can be very imperative for decision making. I've come across many situations in my own life where me having to make a quick decision was like life or death. And it's not always my logical mind that can save me. So sorry, the fact that I thought I had a really good conclusion right now. But I just want to tell like some personal stories as well. Anybody who knows me intimately knows that I allow myself to be guided by my intuition almost always, which is not always an easy thing when you're trying to make plans and please people. I think that it's really important to develop that trust within yourself that you know what's best in the situation. And it takes a lot of bravery sometimes to overcome what other people are telling you, to overcome your logical mind. But I think that it's a really powerful thing that can be useful in every area of your life. In the Western world, like I grew up with people telling me that intuition wasn't, and it's something that I've experienced as a kid. I used to have a lot of visions of things before they happened, and like nobody around me believed me, and it weighed on my confidence. And I think that I made a lot of decisions out of fear in my youth and out of pleasing other people. I was afraid for other people to have the ability to say I told you so. But if you can get over your fear of failure, your fear of embarrassment, it's something that is really valuable to strengthen within yourself. I don't think there's anything more than having trust in yourself. That is a dangerous person is one who a dangerous person to society is one who follows their own with that path. But it can be scary because you can't always see where that's leading. You can't see the whole path ahead. Oftentimes I get called to do things that just terrify me. But I think that they're important. I think that it's not just about me, it's about the value that I can provide to other people. Like speaking today, I do not like being the center of attention. But this is a safe space for me, so thank you all. What else? So I could tell some personal stories of things. One of the funniest and most profound ones for me was an experience I had starting with this church, where I had a lot of free time on my hands for one summer, and I just was like, what's next? What do I do with my time? And I kept hearing horses. And another thing about intuition that I'll say is that you can get it from any of your five senses, but it's more of like an internal feeling, right? Like I'm not hearing it outside of me, I'm hearing it inside of me. I'm not seeing things out here in your mind's eye. So that was one of the instances where I was just like hearing horses. And I was like, okay, I haven't been around horses since I was a kid. And I come to church, and Andrea was speaking about how horses have helped her grow spiritually. And in her talk, she said the same thing that she just asked, and her aunt, like, what's next? And her answer was horses. And she gave me the number of her horse trainer and started volunteering there. It was in 2019. And like I said, I had a decent amount of time on my summer. And my intuition just kept telling me, like, you need to work. Like, go and just work and do nothing but work for a little bit. And so things just, I surrendered to that. Things just started to come my way. I had a job at a salon. The lady at the horse farm told me about an older couple who needed help with their horses. And then I got a random phone call for a job I didn't apply to. And this lady was asking me to babysit her kids. And I kid you not, it lined up that schedule like a puzzle piece, 3 jobs. Like could not have been more perfect. And I was like, I feel like I have to say yes to this. Like it just dropped into my lap and it's what I'm being told to do. So for 5 months, I worked 3 jobs. I saved up the most money I had in my life, and COVID hit. And the shutdown happened, and I lost 2 of those jobs. I lost my most stable income that I had for 10 years at the salon. And I was so grateful that I listened to that intuition and had money saved up so I wasn't worried. And I was like, oh, okay, I get a break now. Like, that's great. So instances like that, we can't not only use intuition to survive, but thrive, to make like the best decisions so that we can, you can sort of predict things before they happen, and set yourself up, prepare yourself to handle things that are going to come your way. I've also learned a lot of really tough lessons from not following my intuition and listening to other people or being afraid to make, to take those leaps. And it most definitely has consequences. But I don't view them as failures. I view them as learning experiences, because it just tells me that like my intuition was and trust. So got about 10 minutes until noon. Are there questions? Yeah.
No, you can use this.
Okay, because I had a few things. to
Oh, you
say.
can go up there if
Yeah,
you want.
that's what I was gonna.
Come on, Alan.
I'll just. Should I put this on? Okay. Yeah,
You got it.
I got it. Yeah, I actually had a few things I wanted to say. First off, thank you for the talk. It was absolutely beautiful. Intuition is something that, if tapped into, can lead you to success, can lead you to the highest good in your life. I know in my life, I use my intuition for everything. And it hasn't always been this strong. In the past couple years, it's gotten much stronger. Like literally every day, I'll do stuff to strengthen my intuition. Every day, meditation, I'll do like third eye exercises. I haven't had fluoride in about like 6 or 7 years. I only drink filtered water. And I never drink bottled water either, because bottled water, a lot of the plastics, they have BPA in them, and that's it's toxin. It's an endocrine disruptor. It goes off your hormones. and also toxins from the plastic leach into the water. So I only drink out of glass. So that's big too. Another thing, I never eat processed food either, ever. I haven't had processed food in over 10 years. I don't eat sugar, I don't eat sweets ever. And people think I'm crazy for it. They're like, oh, come on, just have a piece of cake, just have the, like, no, I don't want it. Because like, I know like it's not gonna make me feel good. I know I'm my best self when I'm eating healthy, so I'm not touching any of that. And I'm at a point now where my intuition is so strong that a lot of times if someone's thinking of me, I can feel it. And then I'll call them like, hey, hey, I was just thinking of you, Alan. I'm like, oh, I know who you are. They're like, of course, Alan, of course you know. So, and then I've been answering people's questions before they ask me the question. And I'm like, how the hell do you do that? And like, so like, literally my intuition has gotten so strong, especially recently. And I use my intuition for everything. That's why I'm glad you did a talk on it. I didn't even know you were doing that today. But like, I'm super big on intuition. Everybody's starting to pick up on that. Like even when I'm driving, because I like to drive fast. And and then my intuition is like, slow down, Alan. I just get that feeling. Like it's not a fear. It's just like you said, it's just like a light feeling like, do this now. It's just a knowing you get. And I slow down and then around the corner, there's a cop or a camera, like on my way, not this week, but 2 weeks ago when I was here, I like to fly down that hill, but I know there's cops, but something inside me told me to like slow down. And it wasn't a cop. And then all of a sudden I see a camera, one of those speed cameras on 303. And so literally use my intuition for everything. And it's something that, again, if developed, it can literally like, it can save you. And it's not just about survival. Like, yes, it can save your life, but it can also help you lead you to your best life. I think I had a couple more things, but I don't want to take too long. So
Sorry, let's
thank
see if
you.
anybody else has
Yeah.
anything to say. Anybody else? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Together. We'll give that back to Lydia. Yeah. Yes, any other questions or comments? Yes, Garrett.
Can I see that for a second? Because somebody made a comment. Okay.
Okay, I'm just curious. You were talking about different ways to open up and strengthen the pineal gland. Have you heard, or can anyone here confirm about turmeric as a way? Because I've heard it, but I don't know if it's factual, and so I was curious. That
I don't know any facts on it. I know turmeric's great for a lot
of
You
things.
can do heavy metal detox with herbs, and maybe that's one of them.
I haven't heard that it's the turmeric as a detox, but that's interesting thought. Cool.
I know the turmeric decreases inflammation.
Right. Yeah. So I do a lot of stuff with golden paste, which is a way to intake turmeric so that your body can absorb it. But I just was okay. Nobody here. All right. Well, I'll find out. Well, I do have eyes behind my head.
Nice. Oh, yes. There's a couple of thoughts. You can use turmeric as an anti-inflammatory. If your body is cleaner, then you have a cleaner filter.
Yeah.
What's coming through. So it would increase your intuition. You can think of increasing your intuition on every one of the chakra levels, and you can fine tune it that way. If you have one sense that's stronger than others, you work on the one that's most strong, and then the other ones will come along. And I could talk forever, but I'm done.
Thank you. Okay.
I just want to say thank you because
Thank you.
thank you for stepping up to this, do all that research. I have some really good information. And ignited something to
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for allowing me to speak.
Oops, hang on, I can't get myself clipped. Okay. Oh. Okay.